Joining us now, Corey Lewandowski, Senior Advisor for the Great America Committee. You can go to greatamericacommittee.com. That is the political action committee of Vice President Pence. Now, a little bit different from some of the other PACs. This PAC gets money, hard money, and they give it to candidates or elected officials running for re-election that support the president's agenda. And he's joining us now. Corey, great to have you, man.
Good morning, John. How are you today?
Let's talk a little baseball, and then we get into all this politics because it is July 4th weekend. So your Red Sox, Chris Sale right now, might be the best left-handed pitcher in the major leagues. Nobody wants to face this guy in a one-game playoff, I can tell you that.
Well, no, you're exactly right. He's hot, he's pitching great, and he's getting the run support. You got to remember when he went to New York last weekend, I think they put 6 runs on the board for him in the first and second inning combined. Right. And, you know, when you get a lead like that, you can pitch very aggressively. He's a great pitcher, and he's feeling it right now. You're going to come into the All-Star break. I'm sure he's going to make the All-Star team, and the Sox are looking good right now.
I like the Sox to win that division. I think they have better starting pitching than New York does, although the Yankees have a great bullpen. And, I mean, you guys hit and you're tough at home. I like the Sox to win that division, and then I'm hoping the Yankees get eliminated in the one-game series I think they're going to have with Seattle. The Astros are going to win the West. Seattle's going to come in on second place, and they've got the second-best pitcher, Paxton, who can beat New York in one game and just get rid of them. And then it's going to be Astros-Red Sox. Once again, we're going to have to go to the game in Fenway, just like we did winner take all. So
well, John, you know, I know you're an Astros fan. You had the opportunity to be at the White House this year when they came. I'm sure it was a great privilege. I'm a Red Sox fan. I love my Sox. I've been to a couple games this year. I went to the alumni game. It was so nice to see some of the old players come back to Fenway. I saw, you know, Dwight Evans and Pedro Martinez and Mike Lowell and all the guys who I grew up watching playing, and it was just such a special treat to see those guys play. And, you know, look, baseball is America's pastime. It's as American as 4th of July and apple pie. And the Red Sox are in Washington this week, so they're in town today. They're playing a day game tomorrow for the 4th of July, so they can be done early, and then you can still make the fireworks tomorrow night in Washington. But if you get to the game tonight, they'll have fireworks after the game tonight, hopefully when the Sox win.
Well, I think Washington just not come together for them, coupled with the fact they're an aging team. I think they're in big trouble. They're 7 games behind Atlanta. I don't think they're going to catch them, and they've depleted their farm system. I really think it's a franchise heading the other way, so we'll see what happens. Corey Lewandowski, Senior Advisor, Great America Committee, as the president would say. We'll see what happens. Corey, I've got to get to some of these issues coming up. I mean, I can't get off this topic. The Democrats seriously talking about eliminating ICE. Basically, they want no borders, no country, because if you have no ICE, if you have no enforcement of people coming here illegal, which means you can't get deported, you can't get apprehended, then you don't have a country. What is their plan here? What are they thinking?
You know, John, I don't know what they're thinking because as a former law enforcement officer, I can tell you that the men and women who put on that uniform every day to protect us from the bad guys deserve the respect that they have earned. And what we have seen now is the Democrats attacking our law enforcement officials, saying they shouldn't have the right to do their jobs. These are the men and women that separate us from the MS-13 gang members who every day are doing something to hurt our nation and to hurt our American families that are here. And I don't understand it. I don't understand the mentality of saying we should eliminate ICE. We should not have people being checked at the borders. We should just allow open borders. Look, even Angela Merkel in the last 24 hours has said she's changing her position on immigration in Germany because it's about to cost her presidency over there. And so what you're seeing is in countries where they have had open immigration and open borders, the people are in revolt because these people are coming and destroying the country. And we can go to an immigration system which is based on merit, like Canada has, like Australia has. Let's do that. If that's what is needed, I'm perfectly fine with that, meaning we let people who come into our country who have a special talent that is going to add to the fabric and the backbone of our country. Sure, if that's what the discussion discussion needs to be, then that's a real discussion to have. But to have a discussion, John, that simply says, let's get rid of all ICE agents, let's not check people coming into the border, let's not stop them when they're in the country illegally, let's not prevent MS-13 from continuing all of the devastation that they're doing, I don't understand the rationale behind that.
Well, I think they're gambling that somehow they're going to be able to get control of Congress and they can get a pool of voters in perpetuity and get through this. But I don't think it's going to happen. You know, the latest two polls that have came out, both Rasmussen and Harris, both show that well over 65% of Americans don't think the borders are secure enough now, let alone opening them up. Because, look, the difference between catch and release is open borders. That's really what that means. Catch and release, Corey, is not a policy. It's just everybody looking the other way. Catch, release, give them a piece of paper, they go. That's open borders. Getting rid of ICE is you don't want a border. It's no borders. It's getting rid of the country. So that's why this doesn't make any sense. Let's get to the Supreme Court nominee, the president interviewing 4 people yesterday, 4 candidates in the Oval Office. I understand another 2 will be interviewed over the next day or so. Does the president have the authority right now to go forward and nominate somebody and take it through the Senate? Or are the Democrats right in saying, look, let's wait until after the midterms?
Well, John, you have to go back and look at the precedents which have been established. And if you remember the Merrick Garland fight, what they said was, in a presidential election year, and specifically a presidential election year where Barack Obama was not given the opportunity, because he had already served 2 full terms, 8 years, to be the president after the election, the Republicans said, we're going to hold Merrick Garland's nomination for the Supreme Court until the next president is elected. That's not the case here, and we have seen this in the past. I believe it was Sonia Sotomayor who was nominated, and I could be wrong, but I think it was her who was nominated and approved in a midterm election cycle where the president wasn't on the ballot. So, of course, the Constitution is very clear. The president has the opportunity to put names forward. He will put a name forward. The president is not on the ballot in November. And I believe that before this Congress recesses, so after the August recess, sometime in September, Labor Day, or shortly thereafter, the members of the U.S. Senate will take up this president's nominee, and they will ultimately confirm the second U.S. Supreme Court justice under this president in the first 2 years. And that is a historic thing. That is something that really has not been given enough attention. I know there's some people talking about it, but not only what the president has done, what he has the opportunity to do at the Supreme Court, which is 2 nominees in the first 2 years, but I look at all of the other federal courts where he has a record of filling those vacancies, and now I believe it's 1 out of every 8 justices on the lower court has now been appointed by the president in the first 2 years. That is a phenomenal record.
It is a breathtaking pace that the president is on, and he's certainly fulfilling his promise, Corey, to have done that. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth across America. Welcome all of our new listeners, WSPZ AM 1260 in Washington, D.C. Really appreciate you being with us. We're with Corey Lewandowski, former campaign manager for the Donald Trump for President campaign. Also, Corey basically ran the campaign, the first guy to turn the lights on. No Corey, no Trump, as far as I'm concerned. Did a fabulous job. Now, it's July 4th coming up. Go right now. You got to get his book that he wrote in the campaign. It is a must-read. It is so cool. It's called Let Trump Beat Trump. Let Trump Beat Trump. You can get it from Amazon, your favorite bookstore, B. Dalton, whatever. You're going around, buy it, read it. It's a great summer read. You'll have a lot of fun. I've read it 2 times. Second time was even better because, the first time you miss certain things. I mean, it is so funny. It's great. It'll make you feel like you're right there. It's just a fabulous piece of work. Let Trump Beat Trump. Corey Lewandowski, buy it. Today, Corey, now senior advisor with the Great America Committee, that is Vice President Pence's #1 political action committee. So, Corey, let's get to Trump's approval rating, up 10% among Hispanics, up 4% among Democrats. This, according to the Harris poll, just came out. It was published in The Hill. The new Harvard Capps Harris poll, released to the Washington newspaper, The Hill, showed a 2-point increase in support for the president compared to May, but his approval rating went up 6 points amongst Republicans, 4 among Democrats, and 10 among Hispanics, all in the midst of this terrible negative coverage he's gotten by the legacy media on the zero tolerance policy. What do you make of this, Corey?
John, it's what I always say is the American people are really smart, and they have stopped listening to the fake news, the propagandists who all they want to do is be negative and destroy this president, because what they're doing is people are waking up every day and they're seeing their own financial situation improving. They're seeing more opportunities for them and their family. They're seeing 3.3 million new jobs created. They're seeing consumer confidence through the roof. They're seeing if they're in a job where they didn't like it, they're seeing more job openings in other places. So that gives them mobility. And so they know that these policies are being driven by the administration. We're at a 3.8% unemployment right now, a historic low for us in the last, probably 30 or 40 years. We have the Atlanta Federal Reserve saying we could see a growth rate of 4.8% in the next quarter. Now, that's a very optimistic number, but that is because of the policies that this administration has put in place. And, John, you remember, it wasn't but 2 or 3 years ago under the Obama administration where our growth rate was 1.2, 1.3, 1.4%, and the media was telling us that's the new normal. We can't do any better. But because of the deregulation that this administration has put in, the historic tax cuts that are taking effect, businesses are reinvesting, and so people across the board, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, African Americans, Hispanics, you name it, are seeing more opportunity. And that's why those numbers are going up, because they're thanking Donald Trump. They're responding to the pollsters and saying, you know what, we are better off today than we were when Barack Obama was in office, and we want to thank President Trump for this. And he continues to fight. And, John, he's already talking about the next tax cut. The first one that he got done was historic, but it's not enough. He's already talking about shrinking the size of government. He's talking about cutting more regulations. I mean, he has cut more regulations out of the federal bureaucracy in the first 18 months in office than I think any president has ever cut in 8 years. That is what is growing our economy, and that's why his numbers continue to go up and will continue to go up. And you add to that the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, bringing home Americans who are sitting overseas in prisoners without giving those countries literally pallet loads of money. And you have seen a country which has completely changed in the last 18 months and changed for the better. And now here's what the president's talking about. He's about to go on a trip to NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and he's going to say to these guys, and he's already said it, we pay, as the United States, 4.2% of our GDP to defense. And countries like Germany pay 0.9 or 1.0, and it's supposed to be at 2% across the board. And he's going to say, you know what? Why do we always have to be the world's piggy bank? We're willing to pay our share. We absolutely are. We're the greatest country on the history of the planet, but we shouldn't be taken advantage of. And I think that's a fair thing, and I think the American people look at that and say, you know what? He's absolutely right. We don't have to support everyone else. They should pay their fair share. Germany should pay the 2%, like Poland, who pays over 2%, like the United States. And if not, let's renegotiate it so we're not paying more than everybody else. And the American people say he's standing up for us, and that's why his numbers go up.
Well, Corey, all the NATO countries have to do that are not paying their fair share is just abide by the document that everybody signed, which was 2% of their GDP. So the U.S. is paying 220% of that at 4.2%, and Germany is at 9%. France is way under it as well. And so you've got all these countries basically not abiding by the agreement that everybody signed. And nobody's ever said a word about it. They just let it go. We double it. We make up the difference, and everything is fine. And then they turn around and screw us on trade deals like Germany. You can't sell a vehicle in there. You get a 29%. By the time you get through the tariff they have, or they call it the 10% import tax and the 19% value-added tax, you got a 29% tax. So if you try to sell a Ford truck in Berlin, all right, if it's $30,000, you're paying $39,000 because they got a 30% tariff. Nobody buys it. It's out of whack. They import a Beamer in, or a Mercedes, or a Volkswagen. Guess what? They pay a 2.5% tax. That's basically to take it off the ship at the dock and put it on a truck. 2.5% versus 29%? How is that fair?
It's not fair. And what this president has said, and it's now been reported, when he was at the G7 in Canada just a couple weeks ago before he went on to meet with Kim Jong-un to discuss the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, what he said to those world leaders, and it's been widely reported now, was, okay, you guys take all of your tariffs off and you stop subsidizing your companies that are doing business with the United States, and there will be no tariffs. We will have a 100% level playing field. And they looked around and said, absolutely no chance, right? And so the difference is, John, the difference is this. The media in their countries, okay, in Germany, in Canada, and all these other places that have tariffs, are praising their leadership for continuing to screw the United States, which they've done for 30 years. The media in our country goes after the president and says, you're going to start a trade war. A trade war? These guys have been killing us. We have a $500 billion deficit with China. That's not a little bit. $500 billion is real money even when you work for the government. We've got a almost $22 trillion debt. And what this president is saying is, guys, if you don't give us a chance to take our products in, to be fair to the United States businesses, then why should we be fair to you just because it's always been that way? And the world leaders don't know what to do because this is the first time, I think, since probably Ronald Reagan, where we've had a president who's willing to stand up and fight for American businesses, just like Ronald Reagan did in the 80s. This president is saying this will come to an end. And they don't know what to do. And for the first time, the world leaders are realizing that Donald Trump, as a business executive, recognizes how unfair it has been to the American people, and now they need to do something about it. The EU has taken advantage of us for 25 years. And this president has said, no more multilateral deals. Let's do bilateral deals so that we can negotiate better on behalf of the American people. And our media here in this country has attacked him for trying to create jobs. We saw a new steel plant open. We saw 3.3 million new jobs created since Election Day. We see American manufacturing coming back home. We see Foxconn last week cutting the ribbon in Wisconsin to make their new facility there. These are the things the president pledged to do in the campaign, and this is what he's fulfilling. And the media chastises him when in the other countries they praise their leaders for continuing to put those tariffs on the U.S.
I tell you what, that is such a great example because you're absolutely right. And if you look at the media in Canada, that is the best example. The Toronto Star and the other major networks in Canada are cheering on Justin Trudeau, just cheering him on for, standing up to Trump, standing up for Canada. Yet the exact opposite happens with President Trump in the U.S. legacy media. It's unbelievable. Corey, we're out of time. I want to thank you for joining us today. It is always a pleasure to get your great, insightful perspective. Read Corey's book, Let Trump Beat Trump. Get it on Amazon. Get it at B. Dalton. Get it at your favorite bookstore. Get it somewhere. Let Trump Beat Trump.